Alright, welcome back developers. We have a sprawling level and a camera that perfectly follows our every move, but now we have two glaring issues left. First, our character sliding around like a perfectly frozen statue. Second, if you hit play and jump, it feels terrible. It takes forever to come back down. It feels like we're jumping to the moon because it's really floaty. Before we can make our character look good, we need to make them feel good. So today, we're going to fix our gravity, and then we're going to open up our animation window to finally bring our character to life. Alright, so I went ahead and moved my tile palette because I don't need it close by right now. But what I do need is the inspector window, and we're going to look over here at our rigid body. In order to fix this, there's two ways I'm going to show you how to fix it. The first is going to be through the inspector. It's going to be a pretty linear fix. So in our inspector, in the rigid body 2D, there's this gravity scale component, and you just can change that number to whatever you want. So if we do 2, it might be better to press play while you're doing this so you can kind of see how it's actually going to work. So if I press 2, alright, still floaty going up, but he does kind of snap back down. We could change it to 3 and kind of see what that looks like. That's that's a lot more smoother of a jump up and down, but he doesn't jump as high, right? So maybe we'll go with 2.5. He's not going to jump as high right now anyways because we haven't adjusted the jump scale. So I think for this 2.5 is going to work pretty well. And so when you do this, then you're going to need to adjust the jump also. So let's bring that jump up to 15 and kind of see. Just remember, he's got platforms he's going to have to jump up as well. So you're going to want to make sure that he can jump over all the platforms and, you know, not fall instantly to his demise. Alright, let's try this again. Since I had to restart it, I gotta put this back up to 2.5. I had the jump at 15. Got back into the game manager, or game view. Let's check it out. So I did add this one just because I knew that while he wouldn't be able to make that jump after we fixed the gravity, floating around in space the way he was, yeah, he could, but it looks like 15 works pretty well for that. So if you want to do that, you can. The other way you could do it is, let's open up our player controller. I have the code in there commented out already. While that's loading, let me go ahead and I need to bring this back to normal for it, the way it was. Alright. Down here, so this in the update function, I put it right underneath where the movement inputs end, but I have this right here, which is kind of like a dynamic gravity deal. You could set it however you want. So for example, you could have it when the velocity is greater than 0, then he's gonna be falling at a rate of 3 frames, right? And then when the scale, otherwise the scale is going to be set to 1, or in this case we could actually have it 2.5, and then, or even 2. And so now if we look at this gravity scale after I press play, it should switch to 2. And so you can see 2, for some reason when he's as he's bouncing it alternates to 3, and I think that's just because of the gliders. So but the jump force, right, would still need to be adjusted for that. So if we adjust the jump force, let's try 13 and see what happens with the jump force. 13 looks like it's pretty good too. Can he make it across all the jumps? If he can jump on that one, he can jump on the top one. And so probably do some physics material so that he doesn't get caught up on the sides like that. Imagine not being able to make a jump in your own game. There we go. Alright. So it works out pretty well for us. So you just figure out which one you want. If you want it to have a little more fluidity, then you can use this code. You can even adjust the jump scale in here by telling it to jump force equals 10, and then otherwise jump force equals 13F, right? Because the jump force, I think, it's not an inch, it's a float, so put the F after each one. There we go. You do that and it'll adjust the jump force as you're jumping too. So you have a little more control through the code using just the rigid body, and the jump force in the inspector is a little more strict. You're not going to have the fluidity. So just make your choice on that one and then kind of go from there. Alright, so now into the animation. There's a little bit of work we're going to have to do before we create the animation. If we go into our characters, we can either do it from this main one, or we can do the individual ones here. I'm only going to use probably probably these first 3 for the idle animations. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the sprites. Let's see if it won't let me do it all at once. Alright, so I'm going to click on the sprites individually, open up the sprite editor, and just make sure that my little point of origin is in the same spot for all of them. So I can, as you see, oops, hold on, let me close this out and reopen it. See, this one is off a little bit. And then I don't think I even messed with idle number 3, so we can put that right there. So now that's all set up, let's click on the player, and then you can see down here this animation tab. It should load by default when you open a 2D scene, when you create a 2D scene in Unity. But if it doesn't, go up to Window, it's under Animation, and then click on Animation, or you can press Control 6. But make sure that here it says to begin animating player. If it doesn't say player, then select the player, press create, and then up here what you can do is we're going to create a new folder. We're going to call this _animations, and then open that up. We'll probably create a new folder in here too, and we're going to call this player. That way all the player animations go in here, and then we're going to call this idle.anim. Actually, yeah, because we know that it's in the player folder. Actually, no. We're going to say player _idle.anim. Then press save, and you'll see that an animator controller automatically appears next to player. That's kind of the brains. It's going to tell the player what animations to play, and then we'll through code tell it when. So if we click on our player scene, our player folder inside the animations folder, you'll see that that pops up right there. You also see that there's a bit of a change here in this in what we have going on. So what we can do now is we can take those sprites that we edited, idle 1, 2, and 3, and just drag them all into this animation controller. Now nothing's gonna appear at first, but if you click on the player, then you'll see them. And if I press play, it's gonna go really fast, but you'll see that it does animate. So let's spread that out some by selecting just the two of them right there, and you can actually move them out. Let's see, I'm gonna move this one to 7 and this one to 15, and then I'm gonna take this idle and bring it back up in. So now there should be there was supposed to be 4 and it didn't. Why didn't it drop in there? There we go. And I'll put that one on 22. So now you can see. Reason why I started and ended with the first one is if I don't, then there's going to be kind of just like a jump where it just like skips back. So if I click it and I press play now, there's that little jump. It's very jarring, so adding that in gives it a little bit more of a smooth flow. So another thing you could do is Unity automatically by default sets to 60 for the sample rate, and so moves like that. If that's still a little fast for you, you can obviously spread out your animations keys a little bit more till you have the desired speed at which they play. But the other thing you do is you could also adjust the sample rate. So if you come over here to these dots right here, and you go to set sample rate, you can go down to 50 or 30, 25, 24. So if you play it at 30, then it takes it plays these at 30 frames per second. Gives it a little bit slower, so he's not looking as rushed, and so you could do that way, or you could spread them out more into the timing is to your liking. Alright, so now we need 2 more. So what I'm going to do is I'll come over here to where it says player idle. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to press create new clip, and then we're going to name this player underscore run, and then we're going to create another one. Actually, we'll do this one first. Go ahead and remember that you're going to need to fix all these. I went ahead and did this between clips that I was recording, and so mine are all set together. So I'm just going to take my runs. I'm going to take all 8 of them this time. I'm going to drop them in there. If I click on the player, you'll see them right there, and press play, and you can see how fast the player is going to be running. I can also just adjust the sample rate as well. You can see it kind of slows it down some. Not quite enough for me though, so I'm going to put this back at 60 for right now, and then I'm just going to adjust these and whoop, didn't want to erase them. I'm just going to take these and spread them out. There we go. Now this is a run, so they do need to be moving a little bit faster than a walk cycle, so I'll probably put them on 6 and 5s. and then let's see. So now if we press play, and that's at 60 frames per second, that's at 30, so that's like really slow motion. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 60 and just leave it spaced out like that. And I'm going to repeat the process with the jump. So player underscore jump. In the jump, there's a lot. I'm not going to use all of them. I'm just going to take this one mid, and that's it. So now if I press play, and that's all I need. So you could, if you wanted to, take this whole jump, you'd have to break it up into jump start, jump mid, and then jump land, into 3 separate animations probably. I don't know. I'll experiment with that after this video and kind of check and go from there. But yeah, for me this is enough. And so, whoops, I mean to delete that. There we go. So that's what I got there for the jumps. So now if we hit play, all we're gonna see probably is the player idling, and so that's what they're doing. In the next video, we're going to set up the animation controller and tell it through code how to actually when to actually play all of these. So until then, keep learning, keep building. I'll see you in the next video.